I'm Tony Sklar with bnetTV. We are here in Berlin at the Small Cell Global Congress. I'm speaking with Ericsson's Mr. Bjorn Odenhammer. How are you today, sir?
Thank you, very good.
Excellent, excellent. Listen, for all the people out there in bnetTV land, why don't you give us a brief overview of what Ericsson is doing here at the Small Cell Global Conference and where you sort of fit in this whole ecosystem?
So Ericsson is a well-known vendor in the mobile space. I mean, we are the #1 provider of RAN networks, and being that, obviously, small cells plays an important role in where the overall networks are going, and we call it heterogeneous networks, HETNets. And you need to build small cell that fits together with the macro networks, because if they don't, I mean, you have an investment in the macro networks still have a lot of potential to provide a good data coverage, and then you can add that with small cells where you can actually mitigate some of the data crunch problems that you have when we all use more and more data in the mobile world.
So Ericsson had put out a fantastic study a couple months ago, or a number of months ago, regarding the amount of data that is inevitably going to be consumed, especially in the video arena. You know, and the numbers were astronomical. So inevitably, the congestion that the consumer or even the enterprise, who the end user, is going to feel in the next few years, it's going to be astronomical. There's a lot of challenges within this industry without small cells coming to fruition faster. What are we going to do? What are some of those problems, and how are we going to get over them?
So basically, we have a concept where we say you can improve your macro networks, you can densify your macro networks, and then you can add small cells. And I think we need to do all three of those in order to handle the data growth. So it's, as always, it's not one or the other, even though on conferences like this, it's obviously more focused on small cells. Speaking then more sort of in-depth on the small cells, clearly we need to have a flexible product offering that can help the operators, because the key challenge in small cells is going to be how to deploy them. And that was discussed on the panel we had just recently as well, then where we clearly saw that finding that spot where you want to put the small cell to offload the macro network and boost the overall performance of the network is crucial. And when you found that spot, finding the location, you need to provide power to that, and you need to provide backhaul.
Okay, so on that note, because it sounds like that's one of the hurdles that everybody kind of needs to get over, how do you find that sweet spot?
No, but I mean it's an interesting sweet spot. That's why you see a lot of people in these conferences, and I also think it's a new area where the operators need to think through their processes. How will they roll out small cells? They can't just reuse exactly the same methodologies they use for macros, because it will be it's basically a different game. So a lot of it can be reused, but you need to acquire new skill sets as well. And network planning is one area how do you have the tools to do that network planning? Where do I put my small cell? Where does it make most sense? Intuitively, you would think that you put the small cell where all the traffic is. Sometimes. But it's actually the other way around if you look from a network planning perspective. That if you put the cell on the cell edge, or the small cell on the cell edge, you will actually provide better capacity for the overall network, because you help the macro network that can provide more data to the guys close to them, and the guys close to the small cell can get better coverage as well. So everyone gains.
I think you've just created a new name for a company called acupuncture.
No, but I think there will be acupuncture with a lot of needles. So you will have to be sharp and get to. I want to be there. I want to be there in the network.
That it affects something over there.
Yeah, and then it affects something over there. Exactly.
50% of the people that I've spoken with today have sort of, have the idea or of the school of thought that, we're really not going to see a lot of deployment on scale in the small cell ecosystem here for at least 2 years. Then the other 50% have said, no, I think we're going to see it sooner than that. What's your opinion on that?
So, in a sense, I guess, depending on how you is the glass half full or half empty, I think we'll see things happening. We are seeing things happening right now, but they are on a small scale. So I mean, we are from an Ericsson perspective, we are out doing trials with lead operators, learning the benefits of small cells today. It's not massive rollout, and then it's a question of when will that massive rollout happen, and I do believe it's some time out, because the operators needs to get their head around where do I put it, how do I roll it out.
You think the operators have learned very well from some of the femto rollouts or some of the microcell rollouts for the consumers, that they learned a lot through case studies in that particular manner, if that's what you want to call it, so that when it comes to a rollout of small cells on sort of a mass scale level, enterprise and carrier grade, that they've got a good test bed so they can afford to take their time and not make any mistakes at it?
There was some mistakes done in the femto world where you had a very split architecture, and obviously the operators can learn from that mistake, where you get a lot of ping pong effects and issues with the deployment models that's been out there. So you should always learn from mistakes. So I think that's obviously so. Then I think we as sort of coming from more as a macro vendor moving into the small cell, I mean, we need to learn from the femto guys with the ease of provisioning and auto integration and things like that. So I think there were things that wasn't great in the sort of femto architecture, but there are things that we could learn as well. So I think we learned.
Was that a learning test bed?
There's a learning test bed, yeah. But you can't use all of it. So it's not like you learned a lot of good things that you can just apply, but you learned good things and bad things, and you apply sort of the right mix of it.
And then finally, Bjorn, why is it important for companies like Ericsson to be involved with conferences like the Small Cell Global Congress?
No, but in general, I mean, it's you meet colleagues, you have good discussions, you hear good presentations. So I think it's one of the ways that we can meet with our customers.
Fantastic, Bjorn. Thanks for taking the opportunity to speak with us. I hope we get a chance for an update with Ericsson again in the future.
For sure. Thank you very much.
I've been speaking with Mr. Bjorn Odenhammer from Ericsson. I am Tony Sklar here with bnetTV at the Small Cell Global Congress in Berlin.